Can Wolves keep their hunger for the second time this week? Tolu, a shock victory in midweek as Wolves keep their survival hopes alive, really. And it looks slim, but they could somehow do the greatest escape. They beat Liverpool midweek. Funny enough, they play Liverpool again in the FA Cup on Friday. So, if you are Wolves and you're looking at your last 8 Premier League fixtures, thinking, do you know what? We can get some results out of this. Does the FA Cup all of a sudden take lesser importance, or is this fixture the potential platform for follow league wins and maybe a survival bid?
Yeah. I think a survival bid is a little bit too far-fetched. You look at the amount of points they have to gain, and they probably have to win every single game until the end of the season, which would be something really remarkable. But I think an FA Cup run is something Rob Edwards, the Wolves manager, has talked about. And look, they've taken a lot of confidence in the fact that they played really well, especially against some of the big teams lately. They got that very good draw against Arsenal. They beat Aston Villa, who are challenging for Champions League places in the Premier League, and then they beat Liverpool. Yes, they did it the hard way, soaked up a lot of pressure in that Premier League game, and you could say that they were fortuitous in a way, because the winning goal was actually a deflection. It didn't look like they were going to trouble Liverpool that much. But you have to say that there is a problem with Liverpool, especially with Arne Slot this year. Once Florian Wirtz wasn't in the team, you almost struggled to see how Liverpool were going to create. Yes, Mohamed Salah did score a goal for his first goal since November last year. That just tells you how much of a rock Liverpool, especially in attack, are. People forget that they even have Alexander Isak. He's been injured for God knows how long now. So it's a real banana skin for Liverpool. They play a Wolves team who literally have nothing to lose. I still worry for Liverpool. They've got Galatasaray in the Champions League in midweek, so he might maybe want to, especially with the fact that he played a lot of games lately, he will have to rotate a bit. And I fear that if they rotate, Wolves don't have to rotate. I think he'll put out the same team once again, play the exact same way. And he'll almost ask Liverpool the question of, can you break us down? Like we saw in the first leg, in the first game, the previous game that they lost in the Premier League, Liverpool struggled to do exactly that.
Well, let's talk about Arne Slot, because for a long time across the autumn, it felt like Arne Slot was certainly in danger, maybe even as close as the Anfield exit door. But that talk has certainly quietened down as of late, because Liverpool's results have been, decent enough. They've not been great, but certainly an improvement as to their huge slump. But maybe after that defeat in midweek, the conversation comes around again. So in terms of Arne Slot, how important is silverware to him at the end of this season, be it the FA Cup or the Champions League? Is this his main focus, or do you feel he can get in the top 5? After all, which route does he take? Does he take both? Is that achievable?
I think getting into the Champions League is the most important thing for him this year. I think his winning the Premier League last year will probably give him a bit of credit in the bank, although there is a lot of question marks around his actual style. There was talk about the fact that last year it was a mix of Jurgen Klopp's real pressing style and a bit of the organization that Arne Slot brought. But he did it basically with Jurgen Klopp's team. This year, he's gotten the chance to sign the kind of players he wants to play, his kind of system. And the truth is, we've now realized his system doesn't work. So that could be a real big problem. I feel like Liverpool have a chance in the Champions League, which is very weird. I think they played they reserved some of their best performances for the Champions League. I still feel qualifying for the Champions League next season will be the big challenge for him. If Liverpool finish outside of the top 5, which potentially looks like 5th place will get Champions League football in England next year, I think if they finish below 5th, irrespective of whether or not he wins the Champions League or the FA Cup, he could come under scrutiny, basically just because for the first time, he's actually built the team in his own image, and they've looked really, really poor.
Yes, I mean, I don't know if you heard his comments in the week saying that I've spent 400 million, but I've only got to use 150 odd because of the injury to Isak, and the Georgian goalkeeper has only been on the bench. Obviously, he knows he can only play one goalkeeper, so that's not an excuse. Does that go back to your point of when you give a manager the keys to I say keys to the check, but when you give them the access to the money and they spend it badly, is it all on the manager? You can't use those excuses when you're given the opportunity to say, this is what I'm all about, post Klopp, and he looks at that opportunity and slipped through his fingers.
Yeah, and that's something that's increasingly starting to happen in a lot of Premier League teams. You look at the issue around sporting directors and managers, the term manager and the term head coach You look at places like Chelsea, where Liam Rossini almost doesn't have a say in the kind of players they bring in. His work is to coach the players. You look at Forest, who appointed Edu, and the managers who come there aren't actually managers, they're head coaches. At Liverpool, it looks like the manager has still got the role of a manager in a way, as opposed to a head coach. And he really hasn't covered himself in glory. To be honest, he's gotten every player he's demanded for this season. He went out and wanted Florian Wirtz by all means. They got Florian Wirtz. There was a long drawn out Alexander Isak transfer, which obviously got over the line. He spent a lot, and you listen to some of his comments all season long, and he almost feels like a manager who almost is trying to deflect a lot of attention away from just how badly his team is playing. Went in an interview and said he'd rather play good football than win a trophy. Then came back and said, if you play good football, you ultimately win a trophy. But his team are doing none of that at the moment. It doesn't look like his new signings have particularly hit the ground running. Milos Kerkesh, the jury's still out on him. Florian Wirtz, despite his influence on this Liverpool team, you still don't think he is quite 100% just yet. We don't even know what Alexander Isak can offer Liverpool because we've not seen him on the pitch long enough to see what he can do. Potentially, they bungled signing Matt Guehi in the summer and then in the January window, which could also be maybe a factor for this Liverpool team. But all in all, I feel like it's a system thing. I think last year he didn't change a lot, maybe down to the fact that he had a particular set of players and Liverpool weren't willing to go into the market under a new manager. And I don't think Liverpool expected to win the league. He basically came up and used the players he had without thinking about it too much. They played really well and won the league. Now that he's had the chance to think about it, gone into the market, sold some players, bought some new ones, all of a sudden it looks like, for the first time in a long time, people say he's starting to look like the Feyenoord manager. So that's a real shocking thing to say for someone who's won the league. But I think you cannot take it away from him. He came into one of the most difficult leagues in the world his first season and won the title. Whether you say it's Jurgen Klopp's team or it was Anna Slott's team, it doesn't matter. He was the manager in the dugout. And I think at the end of the day, that's the only reason why I think he's still in the job at Liverpool. If he was another manager and he hadn't won the league in the first season, he'd probably be out.
Well, it's Arne Slott's name in history books, but will Liverpool be history on Friday night? Tolu, time to put your betting cap on. Will Wolves get a second win in just a few days?
I don't think so. I think you only get a shot at teams like Liverpool once. I think Wolves have gotten their one shot at them in the league. And I'm really surprised with how the bookmakers have gone with this. An away win for Liverpool has decent value, which was quite shocking for me. I live for days like this because I think this is the day that you go all in the Liverpool away win. I don't think they can afford to go out in the FA Cup. I think they will face a bit of trouble. They will face a nervy time at Wolves. But I think Liverpool have got the quality to be able to navigate that game. Wolves will trouble them. But I think Wolves potentially, I think that when you go to basics, Wolves are lacking a bit of quality. I think they stayed really solid in the first half of that game against Liverpool in the league. Liverpool could have scored a couple of goals in that first half, missed a few chances. Wolves stuck in there. But I think Liverpool, once they get the first goal in this FA Cup tie, I think it will be curtains. I feel like Liverpool will win. I probably would also go Liverpool -1, to be honest. I feel like they can go there and make a real statement in this second fixture. Before they lost that game to Wolves, they'd won 6 straight fixtures against Wolves in the Premier League, and that showed you their dominance over the Wolves. And this wasn't even Wolves teams that were as poor as the one they're playing right now. So I think Liverpool will win. I think an away win, for some odd reason, has got some pretty decent value. And then I think I'd go -1 because I think Liverpool will put down the marker and show that that result in the league was a blip.
Well, Tolu thinks he's found the value. We'll find out if he's right on Friday. Tolu, thanks for your time as always, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very much.